This meeting is now being recorded.
Good afternoon, Derby agents. This is Kevin Shady along with Sherm Henderson here at Derby headquarters. It's a beautiful day here as March Madness gets underway throughout the country, and I hope those Dayton Flyers can knock off those Buckeyes. I've got them in my pool. I don't know if you do. And the Badgers look like they're on a roll. They're going to blow out that team as well. So, Americans, sorry, nice story, but you're going to go down. Talking about going down, we've got some great opportunities with RapidScale today, and we got Andrew Lauder on the horn. He's going to release the new promotion that you see on the screen in front of you, and then he's going to walk us through how best to position RapidScale with your opportunities and your existing and prospective clients. So with that, Andrew, take it away.
Yes, sir. Thank you very much. First of all, thank you for having me. Thank you, everybody, for joining. So I wanted to kick it off by letting you know this little promotion that we're running right now. And what we're doing is we're going to offer you a $100 Visa card for bringing us into a qualified meeting of $500 MRC or more. And if that deal closes, we'll then extend it for up to an additional 5 meetings. So there's an ability there to make, the $600 spiff alongside also the commissions from the deal. So it's, what we're trying to do is we're trying to drive this, get us in there and let us show you kind of how we work with the customers and position the products just so everybody can learn kind of shoulder to shoulder.
That's fantastic. Andrew, have you guys done these kind of promotions in the past?
This is actually one of the newer ones that we're doing. It tends to work really well for us. It also can get the agents excited. So this is one of the newer ones that we're turning up for this year. So real quick, Kevin, do I have control over this, or do you have control of the slides?
No, you can go right on. I've just now pulled up the deck, so you should have. Oh, wait a minute. Maybe not. Hold on. Now you should be able to control it. Andrew, you there?
Yeah, I'm here. I'm just trying to.
Do you need me to change the slides for you?
No, I got it now. I got it now. Okay. So RapidScale. So what RapidScale does, we're a cloud computing company. So we've got a variety of solutions that we have that can help out the customer. And kind of how, one of the value adds that we bring is there's, from soup to nuts, we can handle the compute side. So anything from your host exchange to the disaster recovery to the infrastructure as a service and then desktop as a service. And, where it really comes into play is being able to have those down-the-road conversations with the customers, what we like to do. We call it kind of road mapping or developing strategies. So it's definitely value-added bringing us in because there's no dead-end road with us because we're able to bring them all the way down to delivering the virtual desktops and then, take them down to the application level. So at the end of the day, there's nothing that we really can't do from the compute side, with the exception of the software. Software as a service, we don't do that. So RapidScale, just quick background, RapidScale is headquartered out of Irvine, California. We were founded in 2008. Currently, we're running out of 3 different data centers. One of them's in Irvine, California, one is in Sterling, Virginia, and the third is in Dallas, Texas. And those are Savvis in Irvine and Virginia and Tierpoint in Texas. One of the things, kind of a way to differentiate ourselves, and there's a lot of cloud computing companies out there, a lot of people saying that they're doing things, that do things well, but we recently had, about a year ago, we had a group of strategic investors come on with us that wanted to invest some personal money within RapidScale, which really showed the credibility and the space that we're in and the direction that the company's heading. Because, these guys aren't just going to go throw their money into nothing. So, some of those guys that you'll see on the screen, former CEO of Terramark, Marvin Wheeler, Kevin Costello, who's the president of Reba Networks and SAP company, Scott Luttrell Capital Management, and Jim Patterson, who is the former president of Sprint Wholesale, who's a good friend of Mr. Sherm's, is one of the guys that was kind of the leader behind this and putting this group together. So what we say, as RapidScale is, we want to take you into the next generation computer. We see desktop as a service as being, the next generation computer for all. And that's, delivering virtual desktops to complete mobile solution BYOD. And it's one of the consistent things that you'll notice with all of our services is everything is cloud, solutions. So we have Cloud Desktop, which is the desktop as a service, Cloud Office, which is our SMB bundle, which is kind of a combination we'll get into later, CloudRecovery, which is disaster recovery as a service, cloud servers, infrastructure as a service, and so on and so forth. So, whenever you're positioning these products, you're just kind of driving the conversation with your customers. You always want to sell the benefits, because if there's not a value there, not just a value in saving them money, but also a value in their business of help growing their business, become a better business from it. So, some of the benefits would be the flexibility, the ability to quickly meet, business demands. Disaster recovery is a huge one for companies these days. Is continue to grow and becoming more of a need, as much as a want, but more of a need. The automatic software, so being able to come in and patch these operating systems for these and the softwares for the customer, as opposed to their internal IT doing it themselves. And then also the capital expenditure free model, where they're not spending large lump sums of money up front, moving into more of the operational expenditure, where they're breaking down over a monthly cycle. A couple more benefits would be increased collaboration, work from anywhere. So, the old days of the old 9 to 5s are pretty much over for everybody. Everybody needs to have a way to work, whether before the office or after you leave the office. Where it is, it's, being able to access your data anytime, anywhere is a huge advantage. Document controls is also a very important part, because being able to store your documents securely and efficiently, access and collaborate with customers is very important. Security, another one of those things where if you lose something, so, for example, if you lose one of your laptops, say somebody loses a laptop in the airport, which tends to happen pretty consistently from a research perspective. If they lose their laptop at the airport and they have a virtual desktop on there, all their information is stored within the cloud. They can then, whenever they land, they can either go get a tablet or go to their boss and say, "Hey, I lost my laptop." They'll go, "Okay, here's a couple $100 to buy a new one," and then load the Citrix receiver back up on there, and then you can access your virtual desktop and continue working. So as opposed to losing all of your data, having to go back and redo everything, because most people don't back up their laptops, you can then go back and access all your information and not miss a beat. And then, one of the last benefits that's really crucial is the competitiveness. So there's not very many companies out there, especially in the small to medium-sized business space, that are running an enterprise-grade infrastructure, right? So by doing with a cloud computing company like a RapidScale, you're able to leverage our enterprise-grade infrastructure at a fraction of the cost. So you're running your applications and your VMs on a Cisco FlexPod, where most people would never dream of having that level of quality within their data center or within their business. So TCO is a word that comes up a lot, and it's also one that's very generally thrown around. So, when most people think TCO, they're just looking at hard cost savings, but it's not what it is. There's a lot more, granular definitions of the TCO, because you've got support, you've got power to run it, you've got the maintenance that goes along with it, and the hourly. So, it's one of those things that we also like to take a look at, and we've got some pretty good TCO models that are built into it, that we can show people the true, return on investment with building out these TCOs. So into our infrastructure, I kind of mentioned a little bit earlier that we're running a Cisco FlexPod. So the Cisco FlexPod stack is probably one of the best, server stacks out there. So we're running the Cisco ASR routers, the Cisco Nexus switches. We're NetApp on the back end for our storage. It's all SAN-based storage, which is very appealing to the customers and to the IT directors when they're asking about their storage. Also, we're VMware for our hypervisor. We run the Citrix for our virtual desktops. So it's a Citrix receiver that they use to access their virtual desktops. We also support the majority of operating systems and software. Into our data centers a little bit, because a lot of people have these questions. They want to understand where their data is being stored, what it looks like. So we're running in all Tier 3 Class 1 data centers. So that's when I mentioned earlier that we're in Savvis and Tier 4. Those are Tier 3 Class 1. So they're all elevated servers. You know, they got the air conditioning, backed up generators. Not to mention all of our infrastructure, all of our data centers are built redundantly upon each other. So let's say in California, if the great earthquake, you know, California breaks off and goes into the ocean, all that data would then fail over onto the Dallas and the Virginia data centers. So they're completely redundantly backed up, which is a big selling point because not everybody's built out that way. From a compliance standpoint, we're HIPAA, PCI, and Sarbanes-Oxley. Those will come up pretty often, especially within the healthcare space. And, you know, back to the kind of storage of the NetApp. So we encrypt all of our data at flight and at rest. And NetApp is the leader in this space out there. So as RapidScale, as a team, the way we're built out is we've got channel managers that are placed throughout the country. I myself, I cover the Southeast for us. We have people up in the Northeast and the Midwest. In Texas, cover the Central. And then in California, covering the West Coast. So we also have what's called senior cloud consultants engineers. These are people who help myself develop the solutions because a lot of times when I'm dealing with the IT directors, I have a limited kind of cap on what I can do. So these guys can kind of come in and help us build out a real efficient and give them that consultative approach to their environment to help them to be more efficient. We also have our cloud engineers, cloud concierge and cloud support. That's our support team back on the West Coast. You know, level 1, level 2, level 3, and we are 24/7, 365. So there's never a time where support is not accessible. And then we also have account managers, people who are going to come up on the back end and follow up with the customers. And a lot of times this can be a good thing for the agents because you may have not talked to somebody in 6 months, and we give them a shot to say, hey, how's everything going? They say, good, you know, we've got a server come to the end of life. Now you just have another sale, and you didn't even do anything, all because we follow up on the back end to make sure that the customer's having a seamless end-user experience. So into one of our first product sets, which is cloud service, so infrastructure as a service. What infrastructure as a service is virtualizing their servers in our environment. So whether it be, you know, a tiered approach where they've got 6 servers and 3 of them are coming up at the end of life, so we're just virtualizing those 3 servers up in, or it's taking their entire infrastructure, moving it into our cloud. There's lots of different ways to do it. There's no cookie cutter model, but back to being able to leverage the enterprise infrastructure. I mean, this is one way that these people can have the ability to perform better and more efficiently in the environment, you know, at a monthly fee as opposed to going out and buying new servers. You know, one of the kind of a consistent model across and opportunity-wise across the board for us is new businesses. So new businesses looking at that huge CapEx, check that they're going to have to write essentially for this new gear. You know, we move them away from that and look at the as-a-service model to help bring them up from the ground floor and help build their business. And then we can also scale with them. So as they grow, we can scale up, and then, you know, hopefully we never have to, but we can also scale back down. That's one of the beauties of the cloud. So some of the common terms that you might want to know when having these conversations regarding infrastructure, and also some specs that we need to have in order to build out a proposal would be CPU, core, and RAM. So CPU is the central processing unit. That's essentially the brains of the server. And then the core is the actual processing within the CPU, and then the RAM is the random access memory. So, for example, if they've got, you know, they're running a server and it's, you know, they're running a database server that's, you know, 4 CPU, 32 gigs. You know, that's something we need to know in order to help work with them and build out the environment that's going to suit their needs. One of the differentiators, you know, back to our stack that we have is that we're running this enterprise level, you know, Cisco UCS FlexPod within our data centers. It gives them the ability to leverage that. So here's a little diagram of kind of what it looks like from a 15,000-foot view, where we're taking their servers and we're virtualizing them and then running them out of one of our data centers. So we also have the ability, it's kind of down the road and a little more complex, but we have the ability to run, whether it be active passive or active active. So active active would be for a company that is very demanding on their time. They can't be down at all. and it would be their RTO or RPO, which we'll get into later. But so what we'll do is we can split up, essentially run them out of 2 different data centers. So they're running active. They got servers running at both of them. So if something were to happen in one, they immediately fail over to the other one. They're down for a matter of minutes. And we also have the ability to do a DR solution within other data centers. But being that we're built redundantly upon each other gives us a very flexible solution for them, where we can really meet the needs of anything that the customer wants.
Hey, Andrew, how does the pricing of that compare to what they normally have to deal with if they have it on site?
I've got some breakdowns. It depends really on what applications are running. You know, if they're just running one single small business server, or, you know, if they got Exchange servers and they've got, you know, domain controllers and everything else, you know, it kind of depends. At the end of the day, the initial purchase is very steep and very expensive to buy servers. So we can kind of help soothe that by bringing them in slowly, essentially breaking down, as opposed to writing an $80,000 check tomorrow for all your servers. You know, you're writing an $1,800 check for 36 months, right? So I mean, there's ways, and there's definitely TCOs, and also, you know, like I was showing earlier with the Glacier model, you know, you've got to factor in the power to run those servers. You got to factor in the maintenance to keep up with them. You know, the patching, et cetera. So there's a lot of underlying factors that really drive the price up that people don't really see right off the bat. Does that help answer your question?
Absolutely. Thank you.
Okay. So a couple qualifying questions. Whenever you do recognize an opportunity, you know, potential infrastructure as a service or a cloud server opportunity, some of the things you want to look at is, you know, most importantly is what are the critical applications that they're running. Because this is all based around applications and how we deliver those applications and data to the customer. And then also how many physical servers, and then also how many virtual servers. A lot of people running, you know, they'll have 3 physical servers and 9 virtual VMs running off of it. Also, what are the server specs, like we referred to before, the CPU and RAM. And then, you know, when we're talking about, you know, cloud strategy and a roadmap is, you know, what are their plans for 12, 16, 18 months down the road? Do you have any servers coming to the end of life? Are you looking to upgrade? You know, are you growing? Are you have any peaks coming up in your season where you're going to be running up into your capacity? So those are all good questions to have regarding the infrastructure. So next is CloudRecovery, also known as disaster recovery as a service. So what disaster recovery as a service is it's insurance. So you're paying for it, you have it, you're protected. Hopefully you never have to use it, but if you do, you know, it better work, period. And there's 2 different ways, you know, there's different reasons why people look at this. One is because they might have had, you know, a storm, for example, some of the really bad storms we had up in the East Coast this year that we're not typically used to. Some people might have had some power outages and lost some data, and they weren't backed up, and they weren't able to get back up and running. They might have lost some money or some data. Others would be because for compliance requirements, so HIPAA, PCI, or Sarbanes-Oxley requiring you to have a specific disaster recovery plan in place. Another word to think about is to know is business continuity. So business, you know, disaster recovery is one side, but business continuity is the ability to instantaneously fail over and be back up and running, but to meet or exceed the SLAs put in place. So if somebody says I'll get into it, their RTO is an hour, you know, and your business continuity plan shows that you can be back up in an hour and being able to access your data. So RapidScale, we have 2 different flavors. So we cover the board from a disaster recovery standpoint. There's not any plan that we can't do. And the 2 flavors are, one is just a pure data backup. Now, this is a very commoditized solution. This is what you see with, like, the Carbonites and the Barracudas and stuff, where essentially all you're doing is snapshotting the data, and you're backing it up. You know, we do it every 6 hours is how we do it at RapidScale. And then we hold those snapshots, and in the event of a disaster, we would then upload the data onto a hard drive and send it to the customer. So from an efficiency standpoint, this isn't very efficient. You know, you're looking at probably 3 to 4 to 5 days before you're back up and running. But there's some companies that's okay, that they may have a 7 days. You know, they can be down for 7 days before they start really losing money because, they keep their schedules and everything on a whiteboard. So that's one way. Our second way, which is what we really like to push and what's really becoming a very kind of much a household name, is the cloud recovery with failover. And what we're doing with the cloud recovery with failover is we're understanding what applications that the customer is running, and we're spinning up a 2 CPU, 2 gig RAM, I call it a cold server, virtual server running in shadow mode that's available for them in the event of a disaster on site. So if they have one of their servers crashes on site, they call RapidScale. We then add those resources to that server, maybe making it a 4 CPU, 16 gig server. We add those resources to it and then repoint the users to that server so they can then access their data. So essentially it's moving them kind of into an infrastructure as a service, because that's exactly how it works with infrastructure as a service. So they have a virtual machine that they access and get their data. So therefore they don't lose any time or they don't lose any data. So this is the one where, when it comes to a business continuity plan, the cloud recovery with failover is your full business continuity plan. So some of the key terms I've kind of thrown around today. So RTO is a recovery time objective, which means how long can you be down before your business really starts to suffer from it. A lot of people don't know this. People who have this planned or have done it before, they'll know exactly what their RTO is and their RPO, and you ask them. A typical answer, 24 to 36 hours would be a typical answer, right? But some people are less than that, in which case we have to put in, other procedures in place to be able to meet those needs. And then also the covered point objective is how much data can they lose before it becomes, detrimental to their business. So some qualifying questions. And again, cloud recovery, disaster recovery is a very good, opening conversation to have with companies, because it's non-threatening to anybody. You're not selling anything. You're just asking, what is your disaster recovery plan? A lot of people are going to be backing it up on a tape, taking it home and storing it in the gun safe next to the bed, which, isn't very efficient at all. So, you want to ask them, what is your plan? What is your business continuity plan? How are you replicating data? If you're not replicating data, you probably should, but if you are, how are you doing it? And then, of course, how much data do you have? And then how long can you be down before it affects your business? So what's your RPO? And then, are you currently facing any challenges with storage capacity at your organization? So those are all kind of very general questions that will help open up a good conversation with the customer, to help drive this and figure out what exactly they have and understand if there's a need there for them. The next solution is called Cloud Desktop, or also Desktop as a Service. And this is where, if there's one thing, if somebody walks up to me and says, Andrew, what does RapidScale do great? I'm going to say we do Desktop as a Service great, because this is where, we're fortunate enough to have a very good CTO and a CEO that had this vision back in 2008 of where he saw this compute space going, and they were able to build up a winning formula, a winning model to be in the position that we're at now, to be a leader in this space. Because this is coming here. We just partnered up with Samsung to become, within the Samsung Solutions Exchange, where we're working hand in hand with them with their development of their tablets and deliver these virtual desktops on these tablets. So, it's not just by pure luck. The reason is because, this is what we're great at. Obviously we're great at everything, but in order to be great at this type of service, you have to be good at everything, because this is the end all be all. So desktop is, our cloud desktop is typically for the 100+ user accounts. It's more of a, it's delivering these desktops to a company where they're able to access their desktops from any place, anytime, anywhere, as long as they have an internet connection. A good time for a company to do this, if you to have a conversation with them, is whenever they're upgrading their PCs. If employees want to bring their own device, and if their IT staff, is always, they call, putting out fires. So allow us to come there and do this. And the reason why a good time to have the conversation whenever they're upgrading PCs is because it's pretty expensive to buy desktop computers, right? So if we're looking at this desktop as a service model, we're trying to move them kind of away from the large CapEx purchases the servers and the hardware and the desktop computers, bring them over to kind of a thin client, zero client model, or also BYOD, where they're bringing their own laptops with them. And it really helps us save them up on the upfront and smooth it out over the term of their agreement. So the BYOD, bring your own device, very, very hot term right now. And one of the reasons why this is being driven is because what's called the millennials, are these kids coming out, everybody's coming out of college with laptops or they've got tablets or everything else. So there's really no need, if John Smith goes into work and he's got a new MacBook Air and they hand him this old Dell laptop and he's going to be like, well, why would I work on a Dell when I have a Mac? That makes perfect sense, right? So you allow people to bring in their own devices or give them a lot amount of money for the device, and then they load their virtual desktop on there, and that's their working environment. So as I was saying, this typically the cloud desktop is 100 plus employees, single, multiple locations. The customers, they want to tie back in their current application server, so we have the leverage their own licensing. So for example, let's say a nonprofit organization, nonprofits, they're able to buy their licensing dirt cheap because they're nonprofits. So it can be very efficient for them to bring their own licenses. We can leverage those and then build them an infrastructure and also deliver the virtual desktops, moving away from the capital expenditure because, we all know a lot of nonprofits are roughly 2 to 3 years behind in technology. So we're able to leverage that, give them this cutting-edge technology at a price that they can afford. So a couple qualifying questions regarding Cloud Desktop. First of all, you want to know how many devices they have, how many endpoints, desktops, laptops, zero clients, et cetera. And then also, how many are going to be refreshed within the next 12 to 24 months? Because that's when we start, pulling out the TCO calculator and punching some numbers for them and show them the values in saving. Also, how much of your time goes into maintaining devices? And then, of course, as always, what applications are you running on your desktop today? And then how would you handle loss of the company data, hard drive crash, lost laptop, or employee theft? Because you got to remember that at the end of the day, there's also a huge value in having your infrastructure in the cloud or your desktops, because we can go back, if there's a rogue employee that comes in and starts deleting files, we can go back and get that stuff. If there's somebody that that's going to get ready to be fired, we can go in there and shut them off, pull the plug on them, before they have a chance to do anything wrong. So it's very controllable. It's very convenient for the end user. Next solution is CloudMail, also host exchange. So CloudMail, along with disaster recovery as a service or CloudRecovery, is the two, conversation starters. There's a lot of companies out there, running their POPs and or running on-premise Exchange servers. And at the end of the day, there's really not a need for anybody to run an Exchange server on-premise anymore because it just doesn't make sense financially for them to have it, to manage it, to handle the password lockouts and the changes. There's really no need for them to do it. It just doesn't make sense for them to spend their time on that. Allow a company like RapidScale to come in to do that for you, and essentially save you time and be able to spend their time on more business revenue-driven practices for their business. So what is Host Exchange? You guys who are not familiar with Host Exchange, it's a sophisticated messaging tool that provides rich and efficient access to emails, calendars, contacts, et cetera. You got your calendar sharing. It's a very enterprise edition. So a couple qualifying questions. You need to know, first off, what email platform are you running today? If you're running Exchange, Outlook, which version is it? Are you able to share calendars with your employees? Do you have a disaster recovery built into your Exchange solution? So that's another thing that I forgot to mention, that there is, we are able to go back. If an email has been deleted twice, deleted and deleted from the box, we can still go back and access those through our images and our backups with our Exchange. So this is, it's one of those when we work these, this is a constant basis. I'm having Exchange opportunities come up, whether it be the Exchange servers up and running, they have a POP they'd like to upgrade to, a host Exchange solution, the on-premise. So there's lots of reasons. It's an easy question to ask, what's your email platform? If they are running, a lesser model than Exchange, bring them to the table. Let's talk to them. Let's see if we can work something out, because I guarantee you there's some things that are within Exchange and some values that are there that will be very appealing to them. So our last core solution is called Cloud Office. And what Cloud Office is essentially is a combination of all of our core solutions. So, Cloud Server, Cloud Desktop, Cloud Mail, and Cloud Recovery. What Cloud Office is a pure, IT in a box solution that we delivered, that we were able to, we run on a multi-tenanted platform, allowing us to drive the price down and making it affordable for the small to medium-sized business. Because a lot of times the 15 shop or the 20 shop or the 50 shop, they can't really afford to have a desktop as a service model where we're spinning up servers and bringing in the licensing and delivering, doing the desktops through a Citrix license. So it becomes pretty expensive for them. So we created this Cloud Office bundle that's going to give them everything they need for their business to run, completely 100% in the cloud operational expenditure model, at a fraction of the price of what they'd be doing otherwise. So what it comes with, so this is kind of, I say IT in a box, out the box, what Office comes with is a 1 CPU, 2 gig of RAM virtual desktop, Windows 7 or 8, Microsoft Office 2010 or 2013, Exchange 2010, 2013, and that's the same Exchange that we would sell to a on the side, like as a one-off. So if somebody wanted Cloud Mail, you get the exact same host Exchange solution within the Cloud Office bundle, same Enterprise Edition. Microsoft Link, and then we also have other add-ons that we can have. So what you have here with Office, with the Windows operating system, the Microsoft Office, Exchange, Link, Adobe Reader, et cetera, those aren't everything they have. So every other company has specific applications that they run within their company. So, what we do in the process is we're understanding what these applications are, and we can actually package those up and deliver them within this bundle. So it's very application agnostic, with the exception of maybe some of the older applications that are out there that are outdated, that just aren't supported by the company anymore. So it's a very appealing, and we're coming in at $65 a month for a 3-year term. And this is the entire, that's per person, that's everything that they need from a compute standpoint, right? So it's, this sales cycle for me, in my experience at RapidScale, my experience selling Cloud Office is, if you find the right customer, this is more of an explanation than a sale. You explain what they're getting, you show them the price. It's a no-brainer for them, because they can't get this level of service or performance from anywhere else for that kind of price. Also, forgot to mention, within the Cloud Office, we have file sharing capabilities. So if you have 20 users within the office, we have call it like a P drive, like a public drive, where everybody can access that file. Everybody can store their documents there, and there's administrative privileges. So read, write, or none, obviously, and then it just gives them the ability to collaborate internally, as opposed to having, a file server. So how do we stack up? Obviously, there's a lot of competition out there these days. There's a lot of people coming into, especially the desktop as service game. Amazon's coming into the game. There's a lot of the companies coming into the game. So this is kind of how we stack up. There's some differentiators that are here. The ability to virtualize Mac applications, which I really didn't dive into too deep. But we do have the ability to virtualize Mac operating system and Mac applications, which is huge. So we can essentially, in a desktop as a service model, or a cloud desktop model, we can deliver a Mac application on a Windows operating system. So it's a really cool thing, and that all came with the acquisition of a company called Aqua Connect that built the first Mac terminal server. So it's a huge advantage for us. Kind of across the board, you can see it. We're very, like I said earlier in the call, we're suits and nuts. We're going to be able to handle everything from Exchange to disaster recovery. So from point A to point Z, we want to be able to handle all that. Any questions?
Yeah, I've got one. Knowing that we've got a mix of agents, some that are telecom savvy and some that aren't, how would you best like to see, especially the non-telecom agents, approach their customers with these products?
I'd say the winning model that I've seen, the winning formula, which there's never really like an exact one, but when people are coming in and essentially, some of the best agents that I have essentially trained their customers. So, they're big like disaster recovery infrastructure guys. So they make their customers, they convince their customers that they have to have a disaster recovery business continuity plan in place, or they have the ability to lose their business. So they make them want the solution so bad that they're not out there trying to ask the why or what questions. It's how and when, right? So I think that's a very good way to approach it. Is to not, you're asking the question, but also make these people understand that you have to have these in place. Otherwise, you really are sacrificing losing your business.
Okay, I'm going to unmute everybody's lines here, so if you have a question...
All guests have been muted. All guests have been unmuted.
So all lines should be open now. Does anybody have a question for Andrew?
I've got a... Hey, Andrew.
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Hey, Mike Wagner here. I appreciate that. I appreciate all your comments. I've got 3 comments and then a question. For everybody on the call, I've got 3 quick little experiences for you that might help. The first one was I was working a deal with Andrew where a friend of mine called me up and he had a CIO that was somewhat anti-cloud. And 2 years ago, the CIO asked the owner of the company to go out and invest $60,000 in a SAN storage array, which is just basically a huge server with a lot of space. Guaranteed it would work and last him for 10 years. 2 years later, which was a couple months ago, he called me up. The guy's asking for another $60,000 because he just absolutely just blew the space out. So he called me all upset saying, now I've got $120,000 into this thing. And I told him that, all you're doing is feeding the hardware graveyard. You need to go to the cloud so you don't have to do that stuff anymore. So that was a real easy example of where some of the CIO is, he needs the CIO to be there, but he's trying to build up his own data center, and everybody's getting the fact that that's a thing of the past. It doesn't work. And another example would be, as of April the 8th, Microsoft will no longer support Windows XP. So for anybody on the call, if you're talking to somebody and their systems are still on Windows XP, they are exposed. Just like Andrew said, you may lose your business. They are exposed, and they need to do something. They need to invest in a migration, and they need to be establishing a cloud strategy, and that's where you can step in and really and help them out and help solve that problem for them. Right? And then lastly, before I get into my question, is another example where a good friend of mine was very security conscious, owns an energy company and doesn't want anybody seeing his stuff. He's got a password on his Wi-Fi at home, and, I'm just the opposite. But anyway, he told me there's no way he'd go to the cloud because for fear of what somebody else is going to see and be able to see into his systems, in his book of business. I immediately asked him who he banks with, and he told me, and I said, well, you got a checking and savings account, right? He goes, yeah. I said, well, where do you think that data's stored? So these people are using the cloud today anyway, whether they know it, like it or not, as just an example. So those were 3 real experiences that I've had, among others, that I'm working with Andrew on, and hopefully that'll help you, maybe give you some ideas when you're out talking to people that you know. So my question for you, Andrew, is if I've got an opportunity and I need a pair of alligator boots, who do I call?
I don't know. I got to check my Rolodex. I think I can figure somebody. Yeah, you call me. I think I got a few hides laying around there canned up.
Well, for anybody on the call, Andrew's been beyond helpful. He's a good sales guy. He follows up. He drives the sales. So you won't be wrong calling up Andrew to get help and bring him your opportunities.
No, thanks, Mike. And that's kind of, and that's the way it is early and often. I mean, we want to be engaged with yourself and the customer and be shoulder to shoulder selling, because at the end of the day, we're the SMEs. We're the subject matter experts. We do this on a daily basis. I know this is wallet share for you guys right now. But, at the end of the day, if you're not having the conversations with the customer, your customer might call you up and ask for a bigger pipe because they just virtualized their entire infrastructure. And you could have missed out on a, $12,000 to $14,000 deal.
Hey, Andrew, Mike kind of touched on this question, or at least kind of brought it up as a comment, but we do have a question from one of the agents who's asking, what can you do to help a company that is behind on converting off of Windows XP?
That is behind?
That is behind, right.
Well, we'd have to take a look at their environment, so we need to set up a call, get a better understanding of what their business is and what their needs are. But, there's lots of different ways to do it. We would, there's one way to do it is to take and move into a cloud office environment where they're getting off of it. Now they're running, we're handling the OS system for them, the patching, and constantly updating, and then also delivering other applications through a virtual desktop. So that's one way to do it. But, at the end of the day, there's really no cookie cutter method. We really need to get in there and understand their business, understanding what their current environment's like, what their applications are, and, if they run in multiple locations and they have remote workers, et cetera, and then we'll be able to kind of help bring them up to speed and build a solution out for them.
I'll comment on that. Mike here again. Think about what that business owner is going through. Windows XP. I've got to upgrade to another version of an operating system. That means more hardware, more RAM, more hard drive space, more everything, right? More everything. So they have a huge capital investment required when they should really think about having thinner clients on their desktop and having less on the hardware side at their office and putting more of that compute, more of the servers and the heavy lifting being done in the cloud. It just makes so much more sense to do that as opposed to hoping, right, that you're going to be able to go ahead and invest all that money and then it's going to last you. There's going to come a day when you're not going to be able to buy a server that you can put in your office. It's all going to be blazed, and it's all going to be all the new stuff that's out there because that's what the hardware manufacturers are going to make.
100% right. I love this. I love it, Mike. You want to come over here and work with me?
That was an application.
All right, Sherm, I think you had a question. Yeah, I'd like to make a few points to everybody. I had the opportunity this week to attend the Enterprise Connect show in Orlando, and I opted out of going to ComTel. Wish I could have done both of them, but they were both at the same time. And I don't know if you know this name, but just in case you don't, this fellow's name is Jeff Gardner. He's the CEO of Windstream, and he was the keynote speaker at ComTel. And the reason I bring that up is he took it upon himself to announce some of the things that are going on with AT&T. And I think some of you are aware of this, but it plays right into what I'll call the IP space and the cloud space. And he said PSTN, and everybody knows what that is being decommissioned as we speak right now. 2 cities are being taken down in the AT&T space. And Mr. Randall Stevenson said within 6 years they will be out of the copper business totally, which means no more POTS lines, no more PRIs. And his goal is to have all services delivered by IP, the cloud, and cells. And when I listen to that, that puts the CLECs in a crazy space right now. But it also puts the, I guess you would say, the cable companies in a great spot, because they're still going to be running lines in so we can watch all the March Madness. He ended it with saying, you know, I'm sorry for all those agents that were getting commissions, because now that's been stopped, and it's the end of the copper network era. It's the end of POTS lines, T1s, PRIs, so they're looking for alternative channels. That came out of ComTel, and while I was sitting down in the land of Orlando, I started milling around in some of the new companies that are showing up in brute strength and promoting the cloud are companies like Samsung, Cisco, Google, big, huge booths. I mean, bigger than I've ever seen. And the number one thing that to promote is the cloud, the cloud, the cloud. So I think it's starting to obviously take over. One of the facts that was made up down there is by the end of 2016, all services and everything to do with what we do today, 46% of it will be in the cloud. So we are moving very heavily. So the one thing I hope everybody will do today is take the time and, at least from Andrew, learn about the cloud and learn all the different things you can do with it, because it is going to be the next era. And just remember, when we're going through what I call the switch business, the 800 numbers, the travel cards, and next thing you know, we ended up in data, and now all this data is moving, as they say, into the cloud. So my question to Andrew is, you've been there, I met you about a year and a half ago, give or take, or whatever it was, and you've become, by the way, congratulations, you are very, very versed in the cloud. I'd be glad to take you on any calls at all. I think one of the things I'm learning, and I've been out in the field quite a bit in the 4 weeks, is that it gets to be incredible to me when you ask somebody about the cloud and you get so many different versions, but if you have a pitch down like what he's doing right here, it's relatively easy to sell. I mean, I know some of the things Mike's working on and Kevin's working on and Trey Anderson and Andrew Meltzer and Larry Winger. Guys, you've got to talk about the cloud, because people are becoming very aware of that. And the industry is making a major, major shift. So one of the reasons that I've become more intrigued with RapidScale in the cloud is to see the enormous number of people that are not only interested but are also buying it. So, Andrew, I'm kind of following up. There's not so many questions in there. I think you can follow up with everybody else on questions as much as I'm looking at this industry trend and change that's happening very quickly.
Yeah, and that's a good point, Sherman. And you know what? All that does is just brings credibility to the marketplace. You know, we've got the credibility as a company from our history and from our partners and what we're doing and how we position ourselves in the space to be able to have those conversations and check that box off. But, you know, you're 100% right. People see it. This is happening. I mean, you know, a year from now, this is going to be full-blown wide open. Right now, we're still, I mean, we're there, but it's still scratching the surface. You know, the FMV space is thinking about it, but they don't know exactly how. So they may have even looked at it before and had it quoted out, but realized that, you know, maybe they can't afford this solution. So then, you know, allow us to come in there, especially with the cloud office, because it's a huge differentiator in this game. I mean, that thing has opened up more doors for us across the country, and Sherm can vouch for this, from this solution, because it's affordable for this space. That 10 to 100 space, that's kind of a void, because, you know, there's not enough people to drive the price down, but they also need to be able to have the good, you know, good backup and good infrastructure in place. And we can deliver that to them at a price that, you know, that just makes good business sense for them.
Do we have any other questions out there? Andrew, I know we noticed a few of us on some of your slides that some of the services said 2013 coming soon. Is that an old slide, or is that still accurate?
That's an old slide. We've given the option in 2010 and 2013. People still, I've got 90% of my customers are still saying they want 2010, and in which case, whenever we feel confident with migrating everybody over to 13, once they work the bugs out, then we do that at no charge. But yeah, that's just older. We have that available to us.
Kevin, that's 2013 pricing. You better jump on it now before he changes the slides.
Consistent, same thing.
Okay, guys. Any other questions out there?
I actually have a request. Can anybody hear me? This is Andrew Meltzer.
Sure, go for it.
Yeah, Andrew, can you make this slide presentation available to the participants?
100%. Also, what I'll go ahead and do is we have what's called our selling guide, our RapidScale selling guide, where it's got all of our solutions, what the solutions entail, qualifying questions to ask, who's a good fit, that kind of thing. We'll get that over to Kevin. We'll send out to all you guys so you have that. And that
would be very helpful.
Yeah, that's a huge tool for us because a lot of times we do these webinars and it all sounds good, but listen, I don't pick up on anything the first time around. I'm gonna need to hear at least a half dozen times before some of it sticks. So we could put this in front of you and you can sit there and go on a call or call up your customer and really have an educated conversation with them and make them know act like you know what you're talking about by having this in front of you. So we'll make sure you guys get that over.
Yeah, in addition to that, guys, I'll piggyback onto that comment. I also send out the replay, both the audio and video replay of this conference. It usually takes about 24 hours before it's available. So you might look in your inbox sometime late tomorrow afternoon while you're watching those NCAA games, and you should be able to see a repeat and replay of both the audio and video presentation that we're doing just now.
Who's winning?
No.
Don't know, been on this call.
Okay, so here's the deal. Everybody that's on the call, if you will email me or text me between now and 2:30, whoever picks the overall winner for being on this call wins $50. And I know 4 of you are picking Florida, so you don't want to split $12.50 each. So I'd say to everybody, if you get a chance, text me, email me, and then I'll put out a little list of who's got what. Please don't everybody pick Florida. If they do, I'll cancel it. I'm not a Gator fan.
Well, I'd love to pick Florida State, but I can't find them on my list.
You can't. What about football?
Wow.
Wow, that hurt.
You know what? Did they show up this year at the national championship?
NIT.
I can't say anything. My Hoosiers aren't even good enough to be in the NIT. Listen, let me wrap this up. Andrew, I really appreciate you taking the time to walk us through and remind everybody all the solutions that RapidScale brings to the table, as well as introducing this second quarter promotion that we're starting today with the $100 Visa gift card for bringing a deal to the table. And again, if you bring 2 of those deals, or you can bring 2 of those deals, and if one of them closes, then they'll allow you to do an additional up to 5 more deals. So you can get up to $700 in this promotion that they're doing just for bringing people to the table. Qualified opportunities. It doesn't take much with these services to get over $500 in a monthly recurring charge. So we're not talking a whole lot of folks here and a whole lot of services that they'll need in order for you to qualify for this great promotion. And while we're talking about other promotions, guys, don't forget we've got Concourse promotion out there where if you sell $8,000 in monthly recurring charges by next February, you'll have a brand new EILO, EILO, sitting in your driveway, as well as they're also throwing out a $100 bounty on top of their new Ringbox product with the 4 phones and 4 lines and extensions and all that all in one nice, neat package delivered to your clients. We've got promotions from eSuite Media that has $1,000 for every app that's sold from now through the end of the second quarter. So take advantage of some of these promotions that we have out there. And again, if you don't remember those promotions, remember all you have to do is download your Derby app. If you got the Derby Agency app on your Android or iPhone, smartphone, then you'll have one touch away from just being able to pull up all of the partners' promotions, and this one will be added on there as well as soon as I get off this call. So, Sherman, anything else to close with?
Nope, that's good.
Okay, guys, thanks a lot. I really appreciate you taking time out of your day, and we'll talk to you again next week. Thanks.
Kevin.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks, guys.
God.